Hello, I'm Jan Scruggs, founder of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. When I look at the wall, I see more than names. I see the faces of the brave Americans who served their country. I see the faces of my friends. An education center is being built in the National Mall to make these faces visible for everyone who visits and to tell all Americans about the lives of these heroes. Learn what you can do to help. Thank you.
I'm Ed Zackery, Director of the Medina County Veterans Service Office. Welcome to Salute to Service, a show about Medina County and our veterans. What we hope to capture in this program are some of the many achievements, heroic deeds, and sacrifices of our past and present warriors from here in Medina County. We also hope to highlight the many accomplishments that they have continued to make as veterans right here in our community. Again, welcome to Salute to Service. Today I'm here with Mr. Lou McDonald, who's a U.S. Army veteran. He's from Medina, Ohio. Lou, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Ed.
I got to break in with the story of how we met. Me and you got some history together. We met working at the fair a few years ago, working the booth for the Medina County Veterans Service Office. And I had mentioned that I was a ROTC instructor at St. Bonaventure before I retired. And you showed me that ring. You're a graduate there, aren't you?
Bonaventure is not very well known here in Ohio, but I was gratified to see that two Medina high school girls who played, I guess it was field hockey, they both received scholarships from Bonaventure.
Right.
So we're finally making some inroads west of the campus.
It's a beautiful school. Now you're an Army veteran from 1951, 52?
51 till 1954.
And you joined the Army, you enlisted in the Army from college or after college?
No, I left college after my freshman year. Korea had broken out the previous June. And I was 19 years old, and I guess I was more patriotic than sensible. So I went down and spoke to the Navy Flight Training School, and they said, "You're on the list, you passed the physical." In retrospect, I was very happy that the Almighty saw fit that I didn't get into an airplane.
There you go.
When I lost my 2S status as a student, the draft board was breathing down my neck, so I went down and I spoke with the Marines, and then I spoke with the Army, and the Army offered me what I thought was a pretty nice package. Basic training, and then off to school. There were a few blips in there. They had me halfway to Korea before they realized they better bring me back because I'm not supposed to go there.
Now, how was basic training in those days?
We had 8 weeks. When I got there, there were about 8 of us on the bus out of New York City. They had no uniforms for us. They put us in a barracks. About 4:30, 5 o'clock, they came and got us and fed us, and then a corporal about 3'6" and a Kentucky accent came in and said, "Big fella," and I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What can I do for you, Corporal?" And he says, "You're on KP, get up at 3:30. Welcome to the U.S. Army."
Well, it's good to know it hasn't changed in many years because it's about the same.
We got our uniforms, an initial issue. I went in on a Tuesday, and I think we got them on the following Friday. And I was wearing my civilian clothes and washing them every day.
Now, that was probably pretty chaotic because the Korean War had already started by then.
Well, things hadn't caught up.
Right.
The quartermaster situation was such. When I was issued my uniforms, my fatigues, some people don't know what that are.
Right.
They are, but work uniforms. I had 2 U.S. Army uniforms and 1 U.S. Marine Corps uniform.
Because they were short. Well, there was a huge drawdown after World War II, and then, you know, with the Korean War starting, Had a
Probably behind
USMC here
supplies.
and then a hand grenade pouch on your butt.
There you go.
And this particular corporal who gave me my first honest job, he ended up coming in and saying, "That will be obliterated." I didn't know what the word meant.
Right.
But anyhow, after I finished basic and I ended up in a place called Vint Hill Farms in Virginia, and I looked at, when we first got there was maybe 60 of us from all over the United States. And I said, "This isn't the Army." We had cubicles, 4 men, went to chow. They had a menu, your choice, and red and white checkered tablecloths.
Oh, that's not the Army. Now, is that where you learned what you did in the Army? Is that where you learned how to be a
No,
marshal?
that's where, that was our holding
Oh, okay.
base until the FBI cleared us, which none of us knew about.
Right.
But they were clearing us. Once we got clearance, they put us on a troop train, probably 300 of us, if I recall. And they ended up marshaling us all the way up into Boston, South Station. And 6x trucks picked us up and took us to Fort Devens.
All right.
And Fort Devens was the Army Security Agency training grounds. That at the time, nobody spoke about what was going on in there. What it was, Morse code intercept operators, cryptographic experts, and language experts.
So there's a lot of top secret type sensitive stuff.
Everything was top secret.
Now, you didn't go to Korea.
No, I ended up in West Germany with a unit called the 334th Com Recon, and we were bivouacked in what we were told were Hitler's Panzer Division barracks, or in Germany, Kaserne.
Right.
When we arrived, we were supposed to arrive with no fanfare. We pulled into the marshalling yards at Mannheim, about to step off the train, and martial music begins.
They knew you were there. So when did you get to Germany? 52, 53?
I arrived at Germany December 11th, 1952.
Now, it's 4 years after World War II over there. Still a lot of destruction?
Yeah, but the thing that struck me was that the German population, whether you agreed with them or disagreed with them, they were going to rebuild their infrastructure before they were going to rebuild housing.
Right.
And one building in particular in downtown Mannheim, we went in one night and the Klieg lights from World War II were on. Scaffolding was made out of pine trees because we didn't have any metal.
Right.
And in less than a year, they built a 6-story department store.
Wow.
And on the first floor, which they called Erta floor, there were no doors. Until you stepped inside the building, what you did is you walked through, either in the winter you walked through warm air coming from the ground and the ceiling, or in the summertime, if it got warm enough, cool air. And the other innovation that they put in was the very first escalators in that part of Germany.
You know, when I was in Nuremberg, the churches, that they were destroyed, leveled. And I guess they had taken the time, after they realized that we were going to bomb all their cities, that some people went through and numbered the bricks in the churches one by one. And then when they got blown up and there was a pile of rubble, years later when they put the churches back together, they actually dug through there brick by brick, number by number, and rebuilt those churches back into the same structure they were. So the engineering over there was amazing. That's why I was curious, is how much destruction was still left a few years after the war.
You mentioned Nuremberg. I visited there quite often, and I slept in the bed where my grandfather was born.
Wow. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Very amazing.
His brother Adrian, about 6 years his elder, immigrated to the United States. And I only found this out a few years ago, doing some ancestry research. And he ended up in Houston, Texas. My grandfather was about to be selected for the Kaiser's army,
and decided that he would rather have vacation in Hoboken, New Jersey. All right. But he left, and he came to this country at the age of 14. They were the only two males in that family. As a result of the war, there were sons and grandsons who all perished during the war. My mother had communicated with my grand aunts, I guess, after the war, and we were sending care packages. I remember that. But when I was there, I went over the first time, and I couldn't find them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the police station, and I explained the circumstances, and the guy said, "Spell your grandfather's name." And I said, G-U-Y-E-R. And he pronounced it, Gaia. Oh, wait a minute. G-E-I-E-R.
Oh, spelled it a
There
little
it
bit
is.
different, yeah.
And I guess what happened when he got to Ellis Island, the guy at the other side of the desk didn't know how to spell Gaia.
A lot of names got changed going through Ellis Island.
But there were 3 daughters. One was friendly house arrest in London for the entire war.
Wow,
Fortunately for me, she spoke English.
right.
My German was gutter German.
I think all the GIs learned that over there, though, didn't we?
I don't know when you were there if they had a magazine that came out. We had one that came out every month called Mox Nix,
Yeah.
M-O-X-N-I-X, which is a mutation of
Right,
the German,
right.
M-A-C-H-T-S. What it was and every month, the occurrences and the occasions and what are the GIs doing, what are ex-GIs doing in Germany.
Right.
And I remember one in particular where 2 fellows got discharged in Germany, arranged somehow to get financing, and opened up a pizza parlor in Mannheim.
Probably made a lot of money selling pizza to the
Oh,
GIs.
they were hundreds deep waiting to get
Right.
in there. I mean, pizza in Germany?
Now you went to Germany. Did you feel a little lucky not going to Korea, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. When I enlisted.
Obviously, you joined to go to Korea. You knew there was a war going on. But,
Right.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, when I look back, I really enjoyed my job, and I was very happy to realize that in most instances, nobody was shooting at me.
Now, you were at the height of the Cold War over there, or, building up to the Cold War. Obviously the Korean War was caused by the Soviets in the north of Korea and everything. Any top secret stuff going on, spy, espionage, or were you deciphering messages? What was going on?
Well, my job, I was given a block of East German and Czechoslovakian radio frequencies. And we pretty much pinned them down, when they would come up, when they would go down.
Right.
And the Russians had taught these guys to use the codes and use 5 numbers or 5 digits in each word. And our people back in Fort Meade, Maryland, had deciphered all of this.
They were deciphering it.
So we would pick it up and we would we would type it onto a roll, and at the end of the 8-hour period, the roll would go into a sack, would go to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt would fly to Washington, D.C., over to Fort Meade. And once in a while we would hear back that we found
Right.
something. For about 3 months, they put us out in what was known as the Eisenach Valley, which was a salient into Czechoslovakia. Somehow Hitler didn't get
Right,
that piece.
right.
And it was interesting because the Autobahn stopped right there, and there was a crevasse that the Russians had built,
On a dirt road.
and then there was the other guy.
Right.
We went to.
That didn't change for years, I don't think.
We went to a local bar, and found out we were allowed to sit on this side of the bar.
But not the other side.
The other side had a big white stripe in the floor, and that was
The other side.
the other
of the
guy.
board. Wow.
Well, we lived in a tent city, pup tents, for about 2 months, and then they finally got us squad tents. just in time to weather the winter. Things that went on was strange. We were on an ex-Messerschmitt airfield. Our workstations was up a little hill about 3 kilometers away. All our power lines were laid up to the hill, and all our power units were down with the Messerschmitt airfield.
Right.
And that didn't work because at night, when nobody was around, 50 yards, 60 yards of copper cable would disappear between
Right.
there and here.
Well, that's good scrap,
Oh, yeah.
especially after the war. They probably needed it.
The guy pulled up, pull in and say to the guy, I got copper. He would buy it, then he would tell the MPs would call us and say, check your lines.
There you go.
But in February of '54, I ended up being told I was going back to barracks and get ready to get ZI. Not many people heard that expression.
No, what's that
Zone
mean?
of Interior.
Oh, okay.
And I said, how come? I'm not supposed to be out of here until the 16th of April.
Mhm.
They said, your replacement's here. And we want you to train him back in the permanent installation so that when it's time for you to leave permanently, he can come out here or we can go get him or whatever. He was a young kid from Mechanicsburg, Maryland. I'll never forget it. He stood about 6'6". I figured he just made the limit.
Getting in.
And he said, are we spies? And I said, no, you're a typist.
There you go, because you took everything and gave it to somebody that deciphered it.
My dad is an Army veteran of sorts. He 22 years in the New York National Guard.
There you go.
Started out as a private and retired as a captain.
Now, you came back to the States after the war, or after your time in Germany, and you went back to Bonaventure, graduated, wound up here in Medina, currently member of Post 202 American Legion in Medina.
I've been a member of the American Legion since, I would say, 1962.
So quite a
And
while.
in 1971, my company thought better of it and sent me out to Ohio. I joined the local 202, but I told them at the time, I said, I won't be around much because I travel Monday through Friday.
Right.
And in 1996, I retired and walked into a meeting on a Monday night and said, I'm here, I'm yours. And the first job they assigned me to was that of treasurer. Never give an Irishman a chance to count money. But I did that for a while, and then I went through the ranks, if you will. I became second vice, then first vice, and then finally commander. And I had the privilege of being commander for 3 years. I followed a gentleman by the name of Ed Jones, who unfortunately passed about 2 years ago from a very serious case of leukemia. But this particular post is rather unique. And I'm still trying to make up my mind whether I like the uniqueness or not. In most posts that I visited, there's a restaurant,
Canteen
a
type. Yeah.
canteen. This post, for whatever reason, the members of the World War II group had opted over the years never to have
Never to
it.
have a canteen, right? You do a lot of service work, though.
I believe that probably in the year 2070, they'll get their liquor license.
There you go.
No, I have been surprised and really pleased with the gentlemen who belong to the Legion.
It's a great organization.
Well, I'm watching now the new members as they come in, and they're coming in dribs and drabs as usual. We're getting career personnel such as yourself. We're getting guys that served 30 years. We're getting guys that have served just 2 years. We still haven't been able to contact Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans like we would like to.
There you go.
Maybe it's because they said I've had enough regimentation.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it takes a few years. Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Lou McDonald for being with us today. Thanks for coming, Lou.
My
Appreciate
pleasure, Ed,
it.
for sure.
Lou mentioned if there's any Iraqi or Afghanistan veterans out there who would like to join either the American Legion or any veterans organization, I encourage you to do so, whether it's in your community or in someone else's community, because you have friendship there. They're great organizations.
Welcome home, man.
This program was brought to you by the same men and women that also brought you your freedoms. Thank you for watching Salute to Service.
Old Glory, the Star-Spangled Banner, our American flag. For generations, it has been the symbol of our country, the badge of our nation, and the mark of the men and women who fought bravely to protect its meaning. At Brunswick Area Television, we are proud of the members of our armed forces, and we thank them for their service. If you know a military veteran, an active duty service member, or a hero who bravely gave their life to defend our nation, let us know by visiting www.brunswick.oh.us. And again, thank you for your service.
Each year, thousands of people come to visit the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Many reach out and touch the wall to feel some of the 58,000 names that are etched in black stone. But they were more than names. They were brothers, sons, husbands, and friends. People whose lives had meaning and whose stories deserve to be told. Memories like these are the heart of the Education Center at the Wall. Help us keep these stories alive to honor and remember those who served. The Education Center at the Wall will preserve the images, letters, and stories of those who served so that their lives will never be forgotten. Call or click now and help us build it.